Hello, and thank you for joining us for this virtual event, part of WQED's ongoing Future Jobs Initiative. I'm Beth Dolinar. Whether you are new to the workforce or have been in an established career, there may come a day when you will decide or be required to pivot to a new way of earning a living. It's an emerging trend in workforce development called upskilling or reskilling. It's a dynamic that brings challenges, but also opportunities. We'll be discussing those challenges and those opportunities in this program. We invite you to share your comments and your questions through chat. First, let's introduce our panelists. Marquise Long is the Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion and Community Engagement at Partner for Work. Marquise has been a key member of Partner for Work since 2015 when he joined the Learn and Earn Summer Youth Employment Program and quickly advanced within the organization, becoming a program coordinator for the Young Adult Program team. In his new role, he connects individuals and their communities with employment opportunities. And in 2019, Marquise received the Fab 40 Award from the Pittsburgh Courier. Welcome, Marquise.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
We're glad you're here too. Janet Williams is responsible for oversight of human resources at Passavant Memorial Homes Family of Services. She works to promote diversity and inclusion in the workforce there. Welcome, Janet.
Thank you, Beth. I'm happy to be here.
We're glad you're here too. Amy Dennis is a registered nurse and director of the LPN program at the Fayette County Career and Technical Institute, and she is an Air Force veteran. Hi, Amy.
Hi, it's great to be here.
Thanks, Amy. Kendall Griffith is a teacher at Triangle Tech, instructing students in refrigeration, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning maintenance. Kendall himself reskilled into this career. He serves as a mentor at Garfield Jubilee, an organization that helps young men and women prepare for careers in construction. Hi, Kendall. Thanks for being here.
Thanks. It's a pleasure being here.
We're glad you're here. John Shepard is an educational consultant with New Horizons Computer Learning Centers. He provides career guidance to adult students in technical training, and John has advanced degrees in divinity and theology. Welcome, John.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
We're glad you're here. And Crystal Daughtry is the most recent reskiller on our panel. She recently graduated from the Pittsburgh Institute of Aeronautics and will begin a new career as an aeronautics maintenance technician. She traveled the world as a college anthropology major and has worked in airline customer service. And hello, Crystal.
Hello, thank you so much for having me here today, Beth.
Sure, Crystal. Let's start with you, as you're the most recent reskilled person on our panel. What makes a young woman who went to college for anthropology, traveled the world, end up wanting to train to be an airplane maintenance technician?
Well, it's been a long journey, but one that I'm grateful to be on. I worked in customer service for 10 years for the airline industry, just mostly to be able to take part in just world travels, meeting people from around the world, having those experiences. And after a few years, I wanted to do more, wasn't really sure where that was going to lead me. So I just started talking to some mechanics and they said, have you ever thought that was something you'd be interested in? And the honest answer was no at the beginning, but just thought about it for a little bit and discerned a little bit and just started to do some research, and didn't seem like anything that I didn't want to do. So I figured I'd try it out and see, and then if not, do something else, but found very quickly that the hands-on training is exactly what I wanted, something I enjoyed and looking forward to continue to do as I start my career as a maintenance technician.
And you graduated very recently, right?
Yes. Yeah, a few weeks ago. Actually was lucky to graduate top of my class. I had no idea. I just worked and they told me on the day of graduation, I found that out. So definitely feels really good to be finished, but I'm excited.
Well, we'll be back to you lots of times because I want to hear about what that experience was like, but congratulations. Marquise, I think that you probably have a good read on where the jobs are in the greater Pittsburgh market for adults who are reskilling, as you would compare them to the jobs that would be most available for people right out of college or out of high school? Is there a difference between those pools of opportunities?
I think there's a key difference, honestly, right? When you start to look at individuals graduating from college, they're probably between the ages of mostly 22, 23, 24 years of age, right? And they're really looking for their first opportunity, their entry-level opportunity into the employment world. But when you start to look at individuals who are reskilling themselves, you're looking at professionals who have been in the industry, whether it's one healthcare, for example, or manufacturing, for example. They are not just looking for an opportunity. They're looking for an opportunity that's probably going to be a little bit more intermediary or advanced opposed to the college graduate. And I think here what we're saying, although the pandemic has put some pressure on, our region, especially in the hospitality and retail sector, but we are also seeing the hospitality and retail sector starting to boost up, right? They're starting to have more people interested in those jobs. They're starting to get people back into the employment. We also see that with tech, healthcare, and as we all know, Pittsburgh will be having a booming construction market at least for the next 10 to 15 years. So we are, as a workforce board, trying to identify what can we do to ensure that everyone can get the opportunity that they see fit for them currently.
For someone who is watching now and is feeling the need to make a pivot, Marquise, what's the first thing they should do if there is just one thing? Lead them down the right path to making a decision.
The first thing I would say is reach out to the Pennsylvania Career Link system. I know we've had some struggles with the system overall, but I think what we are trying to do is to understand from the job seekers, what can we do to better serve the job seekers? How can we make sure, one, that the employers understand who's in our system, how we can get them the opportunities, and then the credentials that they may come with. Again, as you talk about reskilling, I think when an individual have to pivot and start to look at their ability to reskill, they may have some doubts within themselves. So, I say all the time, don't have any doubts, have the most confidence that you can, reach out to your career link system, reach out to, community-based organizations that provide workforce training. And if something is not going the way you think it should, or if you think you may have a solution to a problem, please let us know. You can easily reach out to me or Partner for Work, and we are definitely willing to hear, what job seekers are saying. Same thing with employers.
So you're saying that Partner for Work, which is a workforce development organization, if somebody would actually call there, somebody will answer and give them to the right person to help them, right?
Absolutely. Call and we will definitely answer. Email and we will definitely answer. If you're a job seeker, a community-based organization, an employer, if you give us a call as it relates to workforce development, we will answer and connect you to the right people.
Kendall, you work with young men and women who are training in refrigeration, air conditioning, maintenance like that. Where are the job opportunities that you're seeing right now?
The job opportunities are with the older companies now. The companies are looking, the older techs now are retiring, so they're looking for new women and gentlemen to start out. So we have companies come in and they interview with our students, and before they graduate, maybe 2 or 3 months before they graduate, they already targeted a job there.
So you talk about a kind of an attrition because you have people aging out and retiring.
Yes.
What happened in the middle there? Was it that colleges became more the path that people, the high schools weren't putting young people on a path toward the trades? What happened?
I was thinking about that. I have a lot of students here. I'm an instructor here at Triangle Tech, and a lot of students from high school are going straight to the trades. And the only thing I could think of is because you're accelerating, maybe less than a year, you're making maybe 40, 50,000 a year in construction, as composed, doing 2 to 4 years to get a bachelor's. Mm-hmm. These guys in construction is already working in 16 months. So,
yeah, that sounds like that could be you know, when you're looking at the cost of a college education.
The cost, absolutely. At Garfield Jubilee, we actually pay young men and women. We give them minimum wage to learn. So it's a no-brainer not to come here and sign up. You get an education. We have a very good job placement, and you get a check every 2 weeks.
Not
I
bad.
say something.
Not bad.
I think with
Amy.
Nope.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Marquise.
Oh no, I was just going to say, I think, you know, the question that you had asked around, you know, what happened, you know, again, I'm a fairly young guy. I think back in the day, and especially in Pittsburgh with the steel mills, everyone wanted to get into the steel work, right? You wanted to get into that industry. And then you've seen the transition to where now everyone wants to go back, you know, go to college. But I think you're starting to see a new trend. I think when employers are starting to realize they can do just as much as a college can do from their own industry, right? What is it that their industry needs from a skilling aspect? And then how do they create that opportunity? So I think now what you're seeing with the trades, I think now what you're seeing with apprenticeships and pre-apprenticeships is that employers are now starting to take a real serious, hard look at their job description, at their current training practices, and thinking about, okay, do that person need a 4-year college degree, or can we do some in-house things to help that individual as of right now? And I think that's, you know, something unique. But again, I think it's almost like it's a circle, right? We started in one industry or in one aspect around skilled laborers and trades. Then we went to college. And now it seems as if we're right back to where we were 50, 60 years ago.
Amy, when we did our documentary called Starting Over, we featured a man who is 63 or 64 now. He was a steelworker. And in the early 80s, when it became evident to him that that was not sustainable, he went back to school and became a nurse, and he's a registered nurse now. Are you seeing people from completely non-related job paths deciding to go into healthcare?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. We've had several displaced coal miners come through the program. I currently have a student who used to work with a tree service, like cutting trees, logging, and he's coming through the program now. So lots of cosmetologists, we get lots of cosmetologists. So yeah, I mean, we see a lot of people who were already skilled in something coming through the program right now because the industries are, you know, not as prominent as they used to be.
Is there a skill set that you look for regardless of what their current career might be, as you try to help them understand if they would be right for healthcare?
Yeah, I mean, when I sit down and talk to every potential student that comes through, and you know, I need someone who's outgoing and reliable, friendly, empathetic, driven to succeed, because the LPN program is not an easy program. It's accelerated. It only takes a year, so they need to be driven and be able to finish.
Janet, I know that you and I talked a couple of weeks ago about the opportunities at Passivant for people who might eventually want to go further in healthcare, but to work with your organization might be a good place to get a start to see if they're right for working with people.
That's correct. We have direct support professionals. They are people who work directly with people with intellectual disabilities, and we train them in-house. We have a 10-day orientation, so you don't have to have any type of skill set to begin with us. We have an online learning platform that we use. And of course, with COVID, we've had to rethink that. We did do it in person. Now we're doing it virtually. So virtually has presented challenges with regard to training folks, but overall, we get it done. if someone is interested in, for instance, going into, as Amy said, nursing, this is a great stepping stone to do that, because you're caring for people, you're passing their medications, you are taking them to doctor's appointments, you are doing activities of daily living with them. So it is a great stepping stone to a position such as nursing.
But I get the feeling it could be a career path of its own also. Somebody who would want to start there and is committed to, progressing through the care career.
Correct. We have, in addition to direct line support professionals, we have program specialists. They oversee the homes and they supervise the staff in the homes. They make sure the consumers are getting, their needs are being met. So we do have a career path as well through our system.
And there are job openings now, I take it, that there are
Yes.
positions that need to be filled.
Exactly. We are hiring. We're like any other nonprofit organization such as ourselves. The pandemic has hit, people aren't working as much. So we are trying to fill open positions.
And John, I know that tech is one of the more emergent areas for people who are mid-career with something else. Tell me what you're seeing as far as people who are pivoting into tech.
You mean like where they're coming from?
Yeah, where are they coming from?
Lots of different places. With the way that COVID has impacted a variety of industries, from retail. There's a lot of corporate retail in the area where I'm at. Many of those people are moving into more technical disciplines. We've had people coming from industries like commercial printing that has been impacted pretty hard pre-COVID and also because of COVID. Some manufacturing depends on what type of industry, but those are a few.
And I'll talk a little bit about what the pandemic has done generally to the job openings and the need for more support positions and so on. Is it starting to open up again now?
I had one recruiter during the shutdown say to me that, these are his words, not mine, they stuck with me, that there was such a, when the shutdown happened, there was such a vacuum of work where jobs are sort of sucked out of the workspace as companies declined their work. And in some cases, that meant laying off people. In some cases, that meant just eliminating positions. But as things would begin to open back up, the need for new workers in a variety of technology roles would be like a tsunami. That was his words. So I think as now that organizations are opening back up, moving toward business as, you can say, usual or unusual, however you want to say it. I think we're starting to see that uptick a bit.
Would you be comfortable looking forward to, predicting even, are these, many of these kind of tech-related jobs would be work from home? Because I'm hearing that because we all were able to figure out a way to do this from home, that there are, for instance, some offices in downtown Pittsburgh are having to decide, what are we bringing anybody back? These rents are expensive. What are you seeing on the horizon for just working from home?
Sure. I see working from home as now being an acceptable option, if nothing else. It does depend on the line of business that a company is in. Depending on the company, some things are really difficult to do from home, but technology is one that can almost be done from anywhere. And in some cases, there are some technological roles where, if you think about work that's been done sort of offshore or in other parts of the country, there are IT people that work for companies that are literally all over the country, but they work from home. I run into those people all the time. and it doesn't matter where they're located. Their home base might be California, but they live here in either Pittsburgh or Ohio or anywhere.
Yeah, there's something to think about. We have a question from the audience for you, John. Where would be a good place to start if you're interested in a career with computers? That's pretty broad.
It is broad. It does depend on what type of position that they have in mind or that they're wired for. I do a lot of assessments up front to try to figure out which type of role is this person that I'm meeting with best suited for. And the answer varies. So at a minimum, strong foundational computer knowledge is the first thing I look for. Experience is a bonus. And then it depends on what type of experience that might be, depending on, again, what kind of position they want to prepare for. But regardless of what the answers are, we can start them at the beginning. The journey will be longer. We can still start them at the beginning.
Kendall, what are the personality qualities that would make somebody right for the kind of work that you're training for? Because these are people almost always are going into somebody's home or into a work of some kind. What should people think about?
I think the qualities they should have, you should enjoy working with your hands, understanding that it is hard work, heating and air conditioning. It's pretty hard. Enjoying troubleshooting machinery would be a help, and just being open-minded and honest.
Are you seeing more women coming in for training into these jobs now?
A lot more women. It's very surprising, very surprising. I mean, my class is, I don't want to say half, but I'm seeing a lot more women coming in the air conditioning refrigeration field now.
And Amy, I know that when it comes to women versus men in nursing, there's still a big gap. But the men are, there are more and more men all the time. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, 12% of the nursing field now are men, whereas 20 years ago it was 2 or 3%.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I've seen, well, it just depends on the class. Right now, I only have 4 males out of 3 classes of nursing students. So, we try to recruit men because we need more men in the nursing field, non-traditional. So.
And nursing is not just bedside patient care. Talk about the other options that there are, both with RN, masters in nursing, and so on.
Yeah, so there's so many different ways you can go in nursing. That's what makes it such a great field. I work with an LPN school, but I'm a registered nurse. For example, I went from the Air Force. I was a medic in the Air Force. So when I got out, I went to nursing school at Penn State, finished an associate's degree, and I started working in the emergency department at Excella Healthcare Hospital, where I worked for 10 years. And then I was able to move on. I finished my bachelor's degree. And then I moved on a couple years later because I decided I wanted to go into education. And I love teaching. So I went and I got my master's of science in nursing education. And then last year, I finished up my doctorate in nursing. And now I'm the administrator of a nursing school. So you can go that way. Or, if you prefer to stay more at the bedside, then you can be a nurse practitioner. That's a master's degree as well. A nurse midwife. I mean, there's just so many different things you can do. And that's, I always push people go into nursing if they don't know where they want to go, because it's a good paying job. You can move up as far as you want to go, as far as you want to go. So it's great.
And you pivoted a lot. And Marquise, I know that we found that some studies show that a person entering the workforce now for the first time, so either out of high school or out of college, is likely to switch jobs or upskill or change in some way 12 times over a lifetime. What is that about, Marquise?
I think it's the options, the opportunities that are out there. I'm a firm believer that you try something and then you try, you don't like it, you try something new. And I think now that what we're seeing is that a lot of people, it's an opportunity. I think with the pandemic, it also created that opportunity. So we didn't have to go back to what we used to do last year. If there's a vision or passion that we have, we want to be an entrepreneur. I think with the pandemic, it actually opened the doors and opened the eyes of individuals to really sit down at home and say, all right, well, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore because it's not feeding my soul. Now they're just actually taking new opportunities and new things and learning and living to the best that they can. So I think that has a lot to do with it. It's just a lot is out here.
What does it take though, Marquise, I mean, you say it, you put it in terms that sound so appealing. I take this job and shove it, right? I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to go do what I want to do, but it's not always practical. But I think that you are lending a certain element of possibility to that. And maybe because jobs were lost over the last 18 months. Talk about that a little bit, about how, it maybe takes a little bit of courage.
It takes a lot of courage. I think in the process of that too, I think when you lose a job, so if you lost your job because of layoffs, I'm pretty sure some of your confidence was probably, shot down as well. And I think now what, us as a workforce board, what we're trying to do is to rebuild that confidence back up. Had the individuals reach out to us, had the individuals reach out to our community partners and really assess exactly what it is they want to do. As John had mentioned, individuals that's coming to him, it really determines on one, their capabilities and what they're interested in. And I think that's what we are seeing as a workforce board. We want to help you fine tune whatever your interests are so we can make sure that we are serving you the best that we can as a workforce board, that our partners are doing the same thing, that the employers that are engaged with us, that they are also doing the same thing. So, we're taking it one day at a time. And if individuals are interested in reskilling, redeveloping, whatever the case may be, and we are here to take that journey with.
Janet, did you have to reskill at all in your career to get where you are now? And I'm sure that there have been changes of jobs. Can you take us through that?
I have not had to reskill so much. Unlike a lot of people, I've been with Passivant for the last 30 years. So I have come up through the ranks. I started out in direct care, working directly with the consumers. And over the last 30 years, I have been in the programming department, supervising staff. I have worked in the day program for Passivant. I have supervised some of the residential sites. I've directed the life sharing program, which is a program where people take a consumer home, they live with them, and we provide supports to that family. And then was fortunate enough that the company saw enough in me and promoted me into human resources. So I've learned along the way. I've done classes, I've done seminars, to increase my skills along the way.
And I think that brings us to my question for Crystal. You were a college graduate, you had traveled, you didn't necessarily have interest in any kind of technical work, and you found yourself well into your 20s, right, back in school. So what were the challenges of that?
The biggest challenge was getting used to the school setting. For many years out of school, you kind of learn how to survive as an adult, or adulting, as they say. But then to get back into that very structured setting of having projects due, tests due, that was a bit of a challenge. But like I said before, like I was a little old school, so a little bit, the way that we were learning was a little bit easier for me, just because it was very similar to how I was learning versus a lot of younger students who are very more technologically based. So that was a challenge, getting used to using technology in a different way. But in some ways it was easier to learn, like the book learning, being able to kind of hear about something I had to do, being able to study and take a test. That process was easy and familiar, but it was using other technologies that made it more challenging.
So it sounds like you're saying that you brought a maturity maybe that you wouldn't have had if you had gone into that training at 18.
Oh, absolutely. Especially when you're paying for it. You definitely changes your mindset of like understanding the value of education. Being someone older, already in debt from a 4-year degree, it was like, if I'm going to do this, I need to put all my effort into it because this is it. I'm already owing enough money and I'm going to be owing more. So it better be for something that I really want to do. And that, I guess, in the back of my mind was a driving force, just to get through programs, staying up till 3 a.m. studying, though I had to get back up at 7. It was, at this point, that kept me going.
Were you working full time for the airline at the same time you were doing school full time?
Yes. So
that's a lot.
School in the morning, had maybe an hour car nap, and then had to work into the night and just do that pretty much 5 days a week for the most part. So it was, I'm glad it's over.
How long was the training at aeronautics?
Well, I did mine a little bit different, just because, like I said, it was a very serious decision to do it. So I did 2 years at CCAC. Got an associate in mechatronics, which is like a mechanical, electrical, some computer programming and manufacturing skills, just to get an idea if this is what I wanted to do long term, which was a good decision because when I went into the Pittsburgh Institute of Aeronautics, I had a lot of previous skill sets that I could use for that education, and it narrowed down my studies a little bit easier. But for the 4 years total of the education, I worked and then also went to school.
Yeah, and John, we featured in the documentary a young man who was a disc jockey, and of course he lost his work during the pandemic. He went to coding boot camp to become a computer software coder, and his first question was, do I have to be good at math? And I think that would be a question that could apply to all of these tech jobs. I wasn't good at math in high school. And is that going to be a barrier to my doing well in tech? What's your answer?
It certainly helps if you do have I'll say an affinity for it, but it's not a deal breaker. If you, like many other field opportunities, if you want something bad enough, and listen to Crystal's story, if you're willing to put in the work, and you're willing to keep at it. There is a lot to be said for just digging down deep inside, finding out, what drives you, and let that fuel you. I do counsel people in our program who realize how hard work it is, and they get discouraged. And partway through, what I'm really trying to say is I don't rule somebody out. We can give them the skills that they need, and it is possible for them to go in no matter where they come from.
Yeah, and I would encourage anybody watching from home, if you have questions, ask them in chat, and we'll direct the question to our panelists. Marquise, as Crystal brought up, she was already in debt from college and then had tuition to pay for at PIA. Is that always the case, or is there a way to pivot, find something new where you don't necessarily take on education debt?
Pre-apprenticeships and apprenticeships. Those are usually sponsored by the employer. If there's an opportunity where you can take advantage of that, then I definitely say take advantage of that. And again, I'm not saying don't go to college, but what I am saying is if there are opportunities for you to not be in so much debt or debt at all, then I say definitely take advantage, especially if it's something that you are interested in.
Yeah.
And I get the feeling that part of how, Marquise, you are able to help people who come to you at Partner for Work is that you are directly linked to the employers. Is that right? Talk about how that works. You know where the jobs are.
Correct. So we actually have labor market data for our region that we work with to try to identify what's the high demand, what industries are booming, or what industries will be booming. And then once we identify those, then we start to work with employers to develop our trainings, to develop the curriculum for the training because again, an employer knows best of what they need. So we have our industry partnership team at Partner for Work working closely with the PA Career Link system to identify new opportunities, new strategies, new funding opportunities as well. So we can make sure that those that are interested in what we have to offer, they can have it again with no debt, no funding coming from their pockets. But we also try to think about it from a supportive services aspect. Like, what are the new things that we can do to support that individual while they're in our program?
Is there one career path that you are seeing emerging more in the way of need because of the pandemic than others? Is there one thing that now, these jobs, we need people who will train for these because of the time that was lost over the last year and a half?
I don't know if there's one specific thing that we are seeing more of. I think it's really a picture of everything, right? I think every employer is really looking for employees, but I think the employees have the power now, to be honest. So I do know that in tech, that in construction, somewhat in healthcare, they are definitely going to be growing industries. I think we are looking at identifying what can we do to support those industries. How can we support the work that they're already doing? How can we fund some of the training that they're already training individuals for? So that's, as the workforce board, that's really what we are seeing. But we're trying to be reactive too, though, and include the employers in the process.
And you said that pretty much a case now of the employees are in the driver's seat, right? We are seeing wages going up at retail and hospitality jobs. And are we seeing a reflection of that across other careers?
I would say retail and hospitality probably by far the most, where you're going to see those wages go up, where you're going to see the employers looking at how they can do business differently. But I will say, I think other employees in other industry are also considering what does that look like for them. One, when you start thinking about retention, how do you retain employees, right? I do believe this. We always say money is how you retain people. I don't believe that. I believe money is a component of how you retain people. But I think it's what you show in their abilities, how you're going to help them grow professionally, how you're going to help them get to where they want to be, how you're going to support them while they're in your job, and really showing that you see that they are a person and not a computer, not a robot, none of that, that they are a true person at the end of the day. And I think those are some of the qualities that employers are starting to look at, in addition to the funding or in addition to the money that the wages that they're trying to start paying employees.
Kendall, what are you doing to include more diverse population of students coming in and learning the trades?
What I'm doing is I try to teach the students that no matter if you're a woman, no matter what race or color, you could catch on to this heating and air conditioning. The construction in Pittsburgh is booming now. You could get a job in 16 months and you could get paying $20, $25 an hour to start. So we're just trying to show them that you can do it, no matter what your background is, no matter where you came from, where you're going, you can make some good money in the construction industry.
For sure. And Janet, can you talk about the starting salaries for somebody who is just coming in, going through the training, and then we'll be getting started with the client care?
Absolutely. For our direct support professionals, they start out, the straight shifts or regular shifts start out at $14.85. If they work a block shift, which involves them remaining at the residence for the 2.5 days, they start out at $15.35. We have a position above that that's called the house coordinator, and they have oversight of the home, filling open shifts, filling shifts that people have called off. They start out at $16.50 for a straight shift. If they're working a block, they make $17 an hour. We also have a position for our children's programs and specialized residential programs. Those positions require a degree in specified areas. They start out at $18.20 an hour for the regular shift, or $18.70 for the block shift.
And are
So
these considered full-time with benefits?
yes, our full-time starts at 32 hours and goes up to 40 hours. The block shifts do require you to sleep over for 2 nights at the residence. So you get your 32 to 40 hours in that 2.5 day span.
What do you hear from your employees who've been at it for a while, and their comments to you about what they get from being hands-on client care? It has to be rewarding, I would say.
Right. The people who have been with us long term are in it because they care about the population that we serve. You have to be caring, compassionate. They like that we are one of the pay leaders in the industry. They do like the benefit. We have benefits, medical, dental, vision, but they really pride themselves on the care that they give to the consumers that we serve when they've been there for a long time.
Great. Crystal, what was it like being an African-American woman in a training place that is mostly younger men?
It was interesting. I honestly was very surprised. I went in with some nervousness, I guess to be expected. And a lot of it was just around, one, the whole industry to me was in a way very foreign, and just didn't understand, I'm used to being more academic studies, and that tend to be more female-ly dominated. And even in my own career in customer service, is mostly women that I work with. So it was a transition, but I did find that the one thing is the respect that I got. I was okay with asking questions. I think I was okay to say, hey, please correct me if I'm doing something wrong. And I wanted to learn. And I think at the end of the day, no matter who or what any of my teachers look like, I'm here to learn, and you're here to teach. So please teach me what you know. And I think having that bit of drive and that bit of confidence helped me a lot as I got through school and through education, because with the career field being maintenance, safety is number one. So as long as you know what you're doing and keeping the airplane safe and ready for people to fly on, you can trust that this person's doing their job well, so I can do my job well. So I think those certain things were pushed aside because it was like, I know you know what you're doing, you're following the manuals, you're getting through the projects, and you're doing it well, that there was a lot more confidence. As I gained confidence, the less I felt the fear of like, oh my goodness, I'm a woman, or I'm a minority. What are they thinking? It was like, I know what I know. And if I don't know, I'm going to ask. And so eventually those fears started to get smaller and smaller. But again, this is a very controlled environment. Who's to say once I'm in the field? But I definitely left feeling like very supported and very encouraged by other instructors, other students I had, the school faculty. So I felt that support. So it was a mixed bag, but overall good experience.
I think it could be expected that any adult who is making a pivot will have a moment or two or more that they say, oh my goodness, I made a mistake. Did you have a moment like that, Crystal?
Oh, actually, right before the pandemic happened, it was just, I had a crazy schedule, and if the workload was intense with, this is the first set of classes where we're working on engines. And so just a lot of information. And I was just like, please give me just 1 week off. I want 1 week. And then it ended up being 3 months. So, I mean, I guess in a awkward way, it came at the right time for me to give me a mental break. But there was points where it was just like, I can't see the end. I can't see the end. It just feels like I'm constantly learning. None of it's coming together, and, you learn very different parts. And then by the end, or right before we graduate, we're like working on planes, and we're like, oh, we know the system, the hydraulic system, and how it affects the fuel system, how the landing gear moves. And it was like a moment, me and my group members were talking like, we sound like mechanics. I'm like, we do. So definitely I had to think of those moments when it was really hard, that you are getting it is a challenge. It's meant to be a challenge. But with the with a lot of good encouragement. You kind of just push through, go back in tomorrow. You may have had a bad day, but just show up tomorrow and try to learn a little bit more and learn better. So,
Amy, do you find some of the same kind of challenges in your students, and what do you do to help them get over that rough spot?
Yeah, I mean, we get a lot of older students actually that are kind of changing careers. There's always a little anxiety over the technology that we use. I've had students tell me they want to quit the second day because they don't know how to use the technology. And, you just gotta kind of encourage them, you'll get used to it. We'll guide you, we'll show you how to do it. And, the older students mixed with the younger students will actually help them with the new technologies. Also, we see a lot of people have anxiety over finances, maybe they lost their job and now they're wanting to go to school, but they also have to have a job to pay their bills. So we see that. We actually work with the Workforce Investment Board in our area, Fayette County and Westmoreland County, and people who are changing jobs, changing careers can get a $6,000 grant to help them out with their finances. So yeah, and childcare, because we get a lot of single moms. So there's a lot of anxiety over that as well.
Yeah, and John, talk, if you will, about the funding that it takes to get into any of these more tech programs. Are there apprenticeships? We hear them with construction trades, but would there be tech apprenticeships?
Yes, there are. There's actually an organization in our area that has satellites in different parts of the country called Apprenti. Apprenti is the only nationally registered IT apprenticeship, I think, in the country. And then by that, I mean that they're on the government's radar screen. And they do two things. They can either take people who have been trained in a program like ours and put them in a pool of candidates that are being considered for various types of technical positions. Apprenti then works with companies who want to hire people out of apprenticeship programs. And it could be coders, programmers, it could be cybersecurity people, it could be some other IT role type. And they take them through an extensive interview, pre-qualifying set of conversations. They'll take a pool of filtered candidates and they'll present them to the potential employer, let them interview them. So it's like going through a series of job interviews, including technical and personality assessments along the way before someone would land one of those. So it's not like, hey, I want one, will you give me one? They've got to earn it. And but they are available. And in a case like training that we provide, sometimes we work with Apprenti and they'll look at training that someone has taken with us and say, fine, we'll count that as the training piece because they know the work that we do. Sometimes they partner with us up front as the training provider because the first phase of the apprenticeship preparation is training for certification or skill development in relation to the job skill set that the customer or the employer needs. It's a really robust program. It's actually quite fascinating.
Helpful.
Yeah.
I have a question from an audience member. For you, I think, Marquise, hearing that there is significant growth openings in particular industries, will you please say if those openings are entry level or what about those of us who are more senior professionals and leaders? Where would they end up?
So I actually think that it's a little bit of both, entry level, and I think there are some senior jobs as well. And I know with the career link system, that's the one piece that a lot of people don't realize, that career link don't just focus on entry level jobs. We do focus on those mid to senior level jobs as well. And we are, we're working with a few employers internally to really start to hone in on pipeline development, right? So not just the entry level positions, but how can we get individuals in your senior management or senior director positions within your company? Because again, as that person made that comment, they don't need an entry level job. They were already a senior level individual. So how can they get back into that space? And that's definitely something that we are working on with employers to try to identify those opportunities.
Kendall, when you have a student, I'm sorry, go ahead, John.
Yeah, we also partner with people like workforce boards in our area as well to help people who are those senior people who have experiences already. And that's one of the things that I do, is to help assess people like that, to figure out what are the ways that we could help them complement their existing experience and resume and give them that edge to help them, if they're lacking something, even if it's one professional certification, what might that be that would give an employer a reason to take a different look at them and consider them for positions they have open? There you go.
Thanks.
Yep.
Kendall, I want to place the same question to you. You probably have some students who have a couple of bad moments where they think they made the wrong choice. They can't do this. In what way do you or the school help them over that?
We have a great career advisors. We'll take them up to the career advisors. They will talk to them and point them in the right direction. Some of our students don't want to work in the state when they graduate. They might want to go to another state. Our career advisors will direct them that way. I personally, we show them how to do resumes for whatever type of position they want in the construction field. So yeah, we keep their spirits up and you keep going. Just like you said, it's up to you. If you want it, you got to push.
For sure. Marquise, is there an age at which the opportunities start diminishing? How close to retirement is too close?
Yeah, that's actually a good question, and I say that because we received a grant a couple of years ago called the Dislocated Worker Grant, and I think the premises of that grant was to work with the mature population. And as we all know, once you get a certain age, it seems as if employers don't necessarily want to, work with you and focus on your abilities and things that you can bring to the organization. So I don't have a clear answer, but I will say this. I think for those individuals who are at or near retirement age, definitely try to work with either your local workforce board or your local community-based organizations so that we can try to address whatever it is. But how do we then break down the barriers of that with the employers? Because at the end of the day, the employers are the ones who are going to make that hire. So how can we make sure these individuals have the skills necessary, that they can put the work in, that they're committed to putting the work in, so that they can also, get a job outside of that, the younger population.
I have another question. For any of you, are any of you aware of specific programs to help women who already have degrees but have been out of the workforce for many years? And I'm sure that's lots of women. Anybody?
So I will say this. So we actually received a grant to work with. It's an organization called the National Fund Workforce Solutions. And we are actually trying to tackle that very issue right there. How can we get opportunities for women who have lost their jobs for various reasons? And I think we all know that Black women, because of the pandemic, was hit the hardest during the pandemic. So as a workforce board, we are trying to not just work with organizations such as Vibrant Pittsburgh, but we're trying to work with employers to ensure that women here in Allegheny County, regardless of circumstance, can get a new opportunity that's going to pay them well. Because I'm pretty sure a lot of single moms are also battling with, do I go back to work for a $10 an hour job when, it may cut me off of whatever public assistance I'm getting? But how do we address that, right? And I think that's continuous conversation with women, and continuous conversations with employers. And that's definitely something that we're trying to address at Partner for Work with some of our community partners.
John, I think you were going to add something.
Did you say, John?
I thought maybe you were going to say
No,
something about.
I was just nodding. I was just following
Yeah.
along. We actually participated on one of those grants, one of those dislocated worker grants in Ohio. And so I can testify firsthand that we've helped several people in that very circumstance retool in a variety of ways. It doesn't have to be technical. It can be process improvement. It can be project management. It can be quality. It just depends on the person and what, how they're wired, what their background is. It's not a cookie cutter process.
Yeah, a lot of women have that gap in their resume for all sorts of family responsibility. Yeah, go ahead, Crystal.
I was going to say as far as education, definitely tons of scholarships. I know at PIA, they would come around and say, we have 10 scholarships that you can apply for. Just today we got, and they constantly filled us with information of how to get financing, even to cover tools. There was a one girl I knew that kind of got discounted on tuition because she was a woman, especially if you're a female going into what was considered a male-dominated field. There's money there and they're willing to give it, and they don't have enough people to give it to. So that on the education side, if it's like that fear between how am I going to make it work, there's a lot of scholarships and grants as far as education to retrain a lot of women. And
Amy, would you agree with that? Or this might be something for a woman to consider?
Yes. Yeah. And we get a lot of single moms, like I said. I know that there are programs out there that will help them pay for childcare. I end up having to sign off on it every month, and I'm sorry, I can't think of the name of it right now, but I know the
CCIS.
Yeah.
What is that, Janet? Say it again. What is it?
CCIS.
That's it. Mm-hmm.
And is that something, Janet, that you have you have too, that you offer the help?
We don't offer it, but we fill the paperwork out for the single moms and people with low income who need the child care.
Yes. That's a great thing. Because, the area that I live in is, economically disadvantaged. There's a lot of people who are just trying to better themselves. And, I like to see programs like that so that women or, anyone has a chance to go back to school and better themselves. So, and of course, the Workforce Investment Board and their grants, we take part in that as well.
I think that the message is keep an open mind. Crystal's a good example of that. Be ready to, make a plan and work hard and get through the bad days, and call Marquise. Marquise can help you out, and call Janet, and call Amy, and call Kendall, and call John. And we've come to the end of the program. I want to thank all of you for joining us. I think this was so interesting and helpful. For those of you who joined from home, there is plenty of information. There are videos and other content about jobs and reskilling at wqed.org/futurejobs. And that is where you will find the documentary that follows the stories of Crystal and others who have pivoted in their new careers. And you'll hear more from Marquise and in that documentary. And also you will see Crystal inspecting an airplane. The documentary is called Starting Over, and you can view it at any time. And Crystal, good luck in your job search. Good luck to everybody. And thanks for joining us, and have a good evening. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.